What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Natty News Daily podcast. We've got a special guest, Nicole Goodno, on the podcast, Miss America champ, and on commentary for this year's Mr. America, joining the Natty News crew. So you're on an ever-growing list of Natty News Daily interns. That is a zero paid gig and maybe a hoodie, but we're still going to determine that. Nicole, welcome to the
Only if it's a
podcast.
large.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. And Dan mentioned before, I didn't realize we haven't had you on the podcast yet. That seems like a travesty. So for those that don't know who you are and what you're all about, maybe a brief rundown of your history, not only with Mr. America, but just as a competitor in general. The floor is yours.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to work with you guys. I've been talked about at Mr. America from you guys specifically. Now this year, I get to be on the other end. But I started bodybuilding in about 2018, and I started in bikini, and I have been working my way up to pretty much women's physique and women's bodybuilding at this point.
Mhm.
So I have won a few different major titles with the USPF. I have a pro card in every single one of my categories. And of course, my biggest achievement, obviously, is winning two titles at Mr. America in two different categories. So you probably know what my goal is moving forward. I'm looking for another title at some point in time. Who knows when it'll be? But I've been competing since 2018. And to be honest, I have not taken an extended off season since that point in time. So
Right.
ready to grow. I'm 49 years old. So, I got to take that time and let my body heal and do all the good things and, really make sure that the next time I hit the stage, like I'm coming on stage looking like a different human being. So
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of things this year. I do a lot of judging. I coach clients. I am a posing coach. I was actually a teacher for 20 years prior to getting into this whole realm of just being in nutrition, competing, things like that. So got a I've been around a while, maybe not so much in bodybuilding, but teaching eight-year olds, yes.
So what
So
brought you into the
so
competitive realm then?
Quite honestly, I was a college athlete, two sport college athlete, and I ended up having a brain tumor. And part of
geez.
yeah, I had brain surgery when I came home on my 22nd birthday. So part of really what led me to this journey was that medical experience in itself. It took away a couple years of my college experience, and I felt completely lost after I couldn't compete. I didn't know what to do. I'm once an athlete, always an athlete. And someone had just said to me, just randomly in the gym, "Hey, have you ever thought about bodybuilding?" And my first picture was, I don't want to look like that. I don't want to be puffy. I don't want to be big. I knew nothing about the sport. But ultimately, it was going through that process of experiencing such a significant medical trauma, which really took me away from a lot of what I could do and what I was able to do just because of going through the brain surgery and residual effects and things like that. So, this was one way, this was an outlet for me to be able to continue to pursue my passion for sports, athletics, being able to be a part of a team. When something is basically just kind of stripped out of your hands, you do
Yeah.
truly feel helpless. So this was a major. I had a major void in my heart and in my soul, and this was what really truly brought me back to feeling like life again, to feeling youthful, to feeling competitive, and I mean it's changed my life completely,
Yeah.
100%.
So
This
just looking at the timeline, right? You said the surgery was when you were 22.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery from that is what led you into bodybuilding, but didn't compete until 2018, you said, right? So what kept you
Correct.
on the stage that long?
It was, just trying to find my way. The recovery was incredibly hard. Honestly, for 5 years, I had to sleep sitting up because I had so much dizziness. Things were really, really difficult. A lot of therapy, a lot of things like that. And I was insanely limited. As I embraced the recovery and really just took the time to just get back to moving and feeling myself, I then ended up tearing my shoulder. I tore my labrum. So I went through two surgeries of that after going through, the major medical situation, and had to repair that. So once that was repaired, I had at that time found my coach, Eric Scott, who did mixed pairs with me in last year. And he rehabbed me. And he's ultimately the one that truly got me back on stage. Since that point in time, we have developed a really unique, special relationship where he rehabbed me. Then he was my coach. Then we started a business together, and then we started competing together. So, I owe a ton to him as well, because I truly was lost in so many different ways. After feeling better after my brain surgery, then going through something like a shoulder surgery for a tear and then frozen shoulder, I was just like, what am I going to do? But that's how we grow, and that's how we fight. And you find the right people, and they make it happen and work for you. And now I feel absolutely amazing and very confident that I can continue my longevity in this sport.
Yeah. This
So
this is like a reminder of why this podcast is so cool, because we've heard no shortage of crazy stories like this. Like I would have never known that about you, and I'm sure 9.9 out of 10 listeners are like, what the hell? This woman who is a top level competitor had brain surgery in her 20s. Like, what the hell? And kind of like you said, like you're at a point now where you are winning championships and winning top level shows, in your 40s, that for a lot of people that have been competing probably for a long time since then, you're really just scratching the surface as far as like duration in the sport. You know what I mean? Like 2018, what's that, 6 years now you've been competing? Like that's
yeah.
like I've been competing like almost double that.
Yeah,
So
I do
it's so
feel
cool.
still like a newbie. I do. I
Yeah.
still feel like finally I think my body has, found its way to work towards women's physique and women's bodybuilding. But I am always going to be a classic figure kind of girl. There's just something so special about all the categories, which I believe has led me to be very well rounded on stage. It's always a learning and growing process, but it is still newer to me. When
Hmm.
I won the USBF championships, that was my first goal in bodybuilding. I knew nobody. I knew no women, nothing. I just kind of went out there and did my thing, and I'm finally feeling comfortable.
Hmm.
And the crazy thing is, and I do owe it a lot to, my business partner for the short time that I've been in the sport. Like you said, you've been at this for a while. I've made wonderful progress, and you cannot do that unless you are not surrounded by people that know how to push you, that, can help you achieve what you want to. But it was time for me to just kind of take a step back. And the one show that really, really got to me, that really made me not want to take time off, was Mr. America. And when I made the decision to take some time off, it was hard for me to even tell Mark, because he knows how much I love being a part of all of this. And once I formally put it out there, I felt so much better. But I'm not going to lie, this is not easy. It's necessary, but it's not easy. And I think I fell in love with the sport so much that it is so very hard to step away,
Yeah.
but very necessary.
For sure. So let's transition a little bit with the Mr. America. So you've competed there twice, 3 times?
I've done it 3 times. So
Hmm.
I was there in 2021 when they had physique, women's physique and heels,
Okay.
and I earned that title. Then in 2022, I won classic figure, and I think I did some figure in there too, a second in masters, I think, and third in open. And then last year was my first year at trying bodybuilding, and I took second place. So
Nice.
I'm working my way, to
Yeah.
achieving some goals there. But the reality is this show is getting insanely good, and the
Yeah.
competitors are getting really great. But that's another thing too. I, as a competitor myself, I constantly want to challenge myself. I don't prefer to do shows just to get a pro win. The shows
Yeah.
that I want to do are the shows that I want, me to have to force growth in, physically, mentally, emotionally, and socially. And
Yeah.
that's what Mr. America really, really, truly has been for me. It's pushed me. It's pushed me to do a lot of things very differently. And truly appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a mature mindset to have, like as an athlete, because, this sport is weird that like someone can go win a show and post all about it. And then me being nosy might look up the show results and they were the only one in the class, or there was two people
Right.
in the class, or someone will go and they got second or third, but it was a deep lineup of like 12 people.
Right.
And it's like bodybuilding's a weird one where you can argue that that third place might be more important and more indicative of where you are as an athlete and where you're progressing as an athlete versus going to these small shows, these weak shows that are, an easy win, and maybe you're collecting a title, right? And maybe at some
Right.
shows you're winning some prize money, but it's not competitive, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think it's really cool for people to hear that from someone like yourself who's relatively new to the sport, but you've gained that, and it probably speaks to the surroundings that you have and the people that you have in your corner that have had probably conversations like this with you. That's like, hey, Nicole, like go challenge yourself, go test yourself. Don't seek out the easy wins. Go do the USBF Pro and the Mr. America where you're going to be up against tough competition, and maybe it is not a win that day, but on paper it's not a first place, but there's probably lots of wins and takeaways that you get from that then fuel you as an athlete to where you are now, where it's like, okay, I need to step back because competition's getting tougher. I need to improve. I need some time because I want to come back and I want to win, but I want to win those good lineups.
Yeah, one of my biggest achievements, beyond Mr. America that I really haven't really talked about was when I placed fourth overall at the Yorton Cup, back in 2021, I think, in figure. And to be amongst those competitors that year, Larita Ward won. And it was, to me, like huge accomplishment, being that that show was incredibly large. I was really small at that time. When I look back at pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was standing on stage being that small, the Yorton stage as well. But that was one of my most memorable wins. It's
Yeah.
one of my most cherished wins because it is the status of the show.
Yeah.
And it means a lot to me that I took fourth place. Not many people really truly would say that, but to me, it meant the world to me.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that people, I think people in time learn that like there eventually is a mindset shift as an athlete, right? Like everybody comes into the sport wanting first place. I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna win. And then you kind of expose yourself to, better athletes and tougher shows, and you just gain some perspective of that's one thing I love about Natty News is like how we share athletes that are across the globe, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, there's talented people out there that like if I was on stage with you, like
yeah,
you're gonna kick my ass. But you then figure out like where you can then get better and progress and face tough lineups and grow as an athlete, right? Like the best athletes don't always win every shows, but they improve over time, right? So it's super cool to hear that. And obviously, what do you think? Next year you'll come back, or is it even more time off than that?
I'm hoping. That's right now. That's where my mindset is getting back on stage in 2025. I mean, I saw the post from Mark today about mixed pairs. I'm like, all right, Mark, now you got to put that out there. I know you're talking to me, but really, that's what I'd love to do. I didn't predict that I would be taking this season off either. It just kind of felt right to make that decision at that time.
Yeah,
And I just went with what my heart was telling me, with what my gut was telling me. And as hard as it is, I already see the benefit and value for myself. Like I said, growth in many different ways. This is super challenging for me to be on the other side of things, but I love the sport and I love everything about it. And in order to, like you said, to grow and to be better, bodybuilding is a sport about yourself. So the way that I bring my package on stage, the next time it has to be better. It doesn't matter what number was placed with that package. As long as it's better,
yeah,
it's a better go for me. And I think people get lost in that translation of,
yep,
we have to take first, second, third. Everybody wants to win. It's human nature, but winning is not always the number one trophy or the check for, $5,000, $3,000, whatever it is. It's, there's a lot of maturity that can come with time in the sport. And that is where I'm at right now in my career, is
yeah.
finding different ways to find success with the sport as I continue to grow.
Yeah, yeah. There's so many different ways you can frame success within this sport. Outside of, like you said, placings or prize money or whatever, right? Like there's just so many ways you can find that like success and fulfillment and that progress within the sport. And that's why it's something that you can do forever because you can in theory always improve. I mean, we see athletes in their 40s. I mean, like yourself, right? In your 40s, people in their 50s. There's some athletes in their 60s that are like playing this game
Yeah.
at the highest level. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know why people wouldn't find a sense of like excitement and passion with that. Like, for James, Dan, and I to be like, yo, we got 30 more years of this that we
Yeah.
could be like doing this damn thing. Like, that's so
Yeah.
cool, right? But people
Yeah.
get lost in like, yeah,
You look at the Marshall Johnsons, you look at Karen Clark, and it's like and Kent, these
yeah,
are
Ken,
individuals. Yeah, they're individuals in the industry that, you know, are the epitome of never give up, just keep going. And that's the beauty and legacy that I want to continue to bring to the sport and the category of women's physique and bodybuilding is just keep the beauty and the legacy going. I'm not in it just to take the first. I want the bodybuilding to continue to flourish and grow. And we need ambassadors like this. Karen Clark to me is she's one of my biggest inspirations when it comes to competition. That girl is always looking good on stage. And, she's in her 50s. Lisa Hoy, who does a lot of judging now, who was a competitor for many, many, many years, super big inspiration to me. Marshall Johnson. It's just, I'm
yeah,
amazed at
yeah,
the amazing people that I have met where really, truly age does not matter.
yep. Yeah, I mean, some of those athletes are kicking young bucks' asses, right? Like people half their
Yes.
age. It's the best.
I just got
Okay,
whooped on by Steve Subcliffe a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, there you go.
I think
Yeah.
56. Yeah.
It's amazing. Love it. Love it. All right, let's talk about your new role as far as where you land in the sport, and that's behind the mic with us at the Mr. America. How do you feel about that? Are you nervous?
I am. Like I said, I was a teacher, and you can see just from this podcast right now, I do love talking. I talked to children for 20 plus years, and it's just I find energy in being able to talk and have conversation. But what I'm really excited about is that because I've been in the natural bodybuilding world, I wouldn't say for a long time, but long enough to have met so many competitors, men and women, to be able to actually feel like they are friends and they are family. So for me to be able to see them and talk about them just gives me nothing but joy. Now, on the other side of it, me with, whatever TV camera in front of my face, so that'll be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah,
There's
not
a
gonna lie,
reason
I'm
why I'm
kind of
getting my
nervous
hair
too.
done.
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be a bit of a, I don't know, culture shock a little bit, just this camera, because like when we've done it before, like I know we weren't constantly watched the whole time. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
probably the odd time that we were pinged in on the TV or whatever, but you know, the fact that they're
But
just gonna be like,
right there. But I find like I've done a lot of the back ends of I've not promoted a show or done anything to that significance, but I have judged, I have head judged, I have done backstage, being a lead expediter. I've been an MC slash head judge before at some of the Natty Revolution USBF shows. I love everything about the sport. And even though this may be something that is very difficult for me or uncomfortable, it is another way for me to just grow and learn. How does Mike Newman feel? How do the MCs feel? How do these people actually feel? How did you guys feel talking about us for the past couple years? So, am I nervous? Absolutely. But I think when I look at it from the perspective of I absolutely love everything about the sport, I keep that in my mind
yeah,
and just say, this is what I love talking about, anyways.
yeah.
Mm.
I hope you have thick skin because if Dan's gonna be competing and not sitting beside me, I need someone to razz. So I,
You can razz me.
my Canadian sense of humor.
Game on. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah. James will be there helping us out too, which will be great, running back and getting interviews and smacking us on the head every time he runs by.
Yeah, I get no pressure. I get the fun job. I get to hide
Yeah.
off camera and just talk with people backstage and just run around and have a good time. Yeah. My demotion was actually a promotion.
Why we're
Imagine,
sweating. We'll be sweating. You
yeah,
can.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, it'll
no,
be fun. I think and the fact that, you have to remember that what we're doing is just we're giving the athletes a platform. And since you are so close with so many of them and you know them, like that's going to be easy for you. It's talking about your friends and the people you look up to in the industry, right? So there's not a
yeah,
lot of pressure. And you know the sport and the criteria so well being a judge that that's what the viewers and the listeners want, right? And we've always tried to do that to some degree, and we've done a pretty good job of it. But talking about the athletes is great because the athletes' families love that. The athletes love it, especially when we're chirping them a little bit. They'll listen to that on the replay. But for the viewer in general, they don't really know what's going on and why people are placing the way they are until we tell them. So, and that to us is second nature. Like, well, yeah, obviously this guy's first, second, third, that's what the judges are thinking. But to someone's cousin or someone's, best friend who's watching for the first time, they have no idea what's going on.
yeah.
No,
Especially
and
too,
they
like,
don't.
go ahead.
Go ahead. You go ahead, Leroy.
I was just gonna say, like, for you coming from like the women's categories, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I
when the
was
three of
gonna
us are, yeah, when the three of us are on, I would say the more muscular categories we can kind of dissect a bit deeper. But when you look at like bikini or those those smaller framed categories, the three of us sit there with a general idea of maybe what the
Hmm.
judges are looking for. But I would say, and this is coming from me as a coach, and I'm sure James, you can echo this too, that like bikini is one of those ones where it's sometimes hard to figure out what the judges are looking for, right? Do they want them harder? Do they want them softer, more feminine beach body, more harder fitness model? Like I find bikini can be the biggest swing show to show as far as what the judges are going to reward. So, for me, I'm excited to be beside you and kind of pick your brain a little bit of like, hey, Nicole, like, what are you seeing that maybe I'm not, right? Because it is different, right? When you compare like a men's bodybuilding judging that like that is I could sink my teeth into that all day and talk about it till I'm blue in the face. But bikini, I
Yeah.
might be like, hey, like Nicole, I thought maybe she could have won. Why are you thinking she's not? Like that dynamic, I think, is going to be really good and really different than what we've done in the past.
Mhm.
Yeah, and these bikini girls, they bring it at this show. And they have a lot of personality. There's a lot of different shapes and structure, which I think is what makes it so difficult. If you do have this huge outlier, it makes it very difficult for the panel to go one way or the other. If this outlier completely different from the panel, but doesn't quite meet the criteria, maybe there's too much muscle, it can totally create a confusion. And I think from the viewers looking at it from the lens of the TV, what they see is even a little bit more shaded than what we see when we are right at stage, right on stage, right below stage, right at the place where the judges view it. So being able to communicate that with this is what you might understand or what you're seeing through a TV screen, it does look really different when
Yeah.
it's live, when you're sitting there live and in person. So helping family members, friends, people that are watching the show, maybe athletes that want to compete at some point, helping them understand that, what we see live is very different what is going to be projected through computer, through TV,
Yeah.
etc. And to teach
Yeah.
and educate them about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even to add another layer to that too, like these athletes are coming from all different federations. We all know
Mm-hmm.
that as much as the criteria technically on paper are the same, they're not the same in judging, right? And our backgrounds collectively, the three of us, is OCB, WMBF, really. So you coming even from the USBF just gives that other perspective that we might be missing too, because we all know, like, even between those two that we're familiar with, OCB and WMBF, bikini is judged dramatically different. The posing
Yeah.
is even different, right? So there's
Yes.
there's so many small things that we pick up on. And I certainly don't envy the judges, right? Because they are from multiple federations across the board. Them
Mm-hmm.
trying to make a collective decision is it's got to be challenging. So That's one of the reasons I really love this show is you get this, you can almost tell like who comes from where, region based or federation based, even without knowing their names, just the way they pose or they're, if they're the champ of that fed, they have a certain look almost.
100% agree with you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be a real fun and different dynamic than past. I'm sure there's people that are gonna listen and go, "Oh, they have someone new on," or they must have fired Dan. That's great. Um,
No,
yeah,
they'll
no.
they'll
Poor
assume
Dan.
they'll see Dan on stage. They'll assume they fired me finally. I'm the least popular anyway.
I'm the one who ate on the stream, so I probably figured I got kicked off for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was the
I'll
guy
have to
trying to
show
rein you guys back in the whole time.
I'll have to show Nicole that video. That's still one of my top 5 favorite moments in my bodybuilding career. Um, is there anything else? I don't know. I think we kind of touched on the main stuff. Is there anything, Dan, James, anything else off the top of your head?
No,
What are
I
you
think
most excited to see this year, Nicole? I mean, being on the other side of things, and how are you feeling going in with that? You kind of touched on it a little bit, but
Well, I'm just really excited to just take it in from a completely different perspective because I want, even though I'm an athlete at heart, sitting on the other side of things is going to create a different view for me and actually probably going to help me figure out what I might need to do moving forward into the rest of my extended off season to prepare and plan for next year. So not only will it be just an awesome way to relax and really enjoy being an athlete and not be an athlete at the same time, but to, do something that is new to me, do something that I love, but also look at it from the perspective of I got to bring a different game. So I'm excited to see it from that perspective, not just I'm only focused on myself when I get on stage. It's me now not having to focus on myself and to see, really truly what is going to be my competition in a year or so to come. I'm excited to be able to work with you guys as well. It's actually I feel very honored. I'm happy that Mark reached out to ask me to do this, and I'm happy that you guys obliged to have me.
Yeah, he didn't run it
I
by us actually, now that I
yeah,
think
I
about
don't know how
it.
much say we had, but we're happy to have you.
Well, thank you. But I do have an athlete competing too. I have a men's amateur physique athlete that will be on stage, and I have a powerlifting athlete that'll be there on, Sunday, obviously. So the whole weekend is going to be a very different experience for me, but I think it's going to be really important on myself, my goals moving forward. I mean, we've got Courtney. Courtney is my best friend in the world as far as bodybuilding goes. And, I get to see her in a different way than standing on stage next to her or judging a show for her. I get to see her in a completely different light. And for that, I'm super excited. So it's like a relaxed feeling, but not a relaxed feeling, if you will. But I'm really
Perfect.
open and excited for it.
you'll
I'm
get to
gonna
absorb a lot, but also really enjoy the weekend too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cause
I
it's
think
like
you'll get a
go,
lot
go,
out of it.
go.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
I'm gonna
it's
I'm gonna
nice. It's nice to really just be a fan of the sport. And that's what I feel like sitting there. Like, yeah, we have a headset, we're doing a job, but like you just get to kind of geek out and like enjoy the moment. And for us, it almost feels like a family reunion, right? Like one, because we're getting together, but two, like all the guys that always go to that show, we get to
yeah.
see people that we never get to see. And it's both that, but it's also just exhilarating, like exhausting, but
No, it's a
exhilarating.
rush.
We by the end of the day, we go to the same
Yeah,
burger
we're
spot and
fried.
order the same thing every single year. We'll just sit there in silence, just like soaking it in.
I
And
wonder, I wonder if we go to the burger spot, if we say, "Can I get 2 of the Natty News?" if they would know our order. Like if we get to that point, if we go
couple more
They,
years, couple more
couple
years.
more
Yeah, we'll have our
years.
booth reserved. Yeah, that'll be
Yeah,
part of the contract next year for Mark. If he's listening to this, like we want our booth reserved, burgers
yeah,
ready to go as soon as the show's done.
that's right.
he probably would follow through with that. I'm not going to
He
lie.
probably would.
He's that thoughtful.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
he's good.
Mark, pressure's on.
Yeah.
You heard him, Mark.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, Nicole, for those that maybe want to follow along with your journey a bit closer, where do they find you?
So basically, my journey is on Instagram. It's petite to powerhouse. That's another story. I mean, that is how people knew me the first year I came to Mr. America. They're like, you're petite to powerhouse. I'm like you
I
don't
have a
even know
name.
my name, but yes, but that's the most incredible thing when social media can be such an awesome thing. And that's, you feel like you know so many people when you really don't know them. But I am on, Instagram. My bodybuilding journey is just petite to powerhouse. And that's
Okay.
where people can really find me if they want to poke in and see what the heck I'm doing.
Sweet, sweet. Awesome, people. Well, you heard it right there. Give her a follow on Instagram, show her some support. And obviously, if you guys want to stay up to date with everything Mr. America, check out their stuff on social media. Obviously, if you want to listen to us chat shit in a couple weeks, you can find the link to the live stream probably in the Mr. America bio. It might be in our bio if
Our
Dan's
bio
up to
as well.
speed on
Yep.
that. There you
I am.
go. It's on the Natty News bio. See, Dan's like a week out and he's still on the money. But yeah, we appreciate you guys for listening. Obviously, you know what to do. Like the video, subscribe for future episodes, and we'll see you guys in the next one.